here with our beloved friend, our controversial guest, Austin Drescher, to review player versus. Wow, the whole thing's fucked up. That's okay. We're in year two, week four recap. Austin, how we doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm revved and ready to go today.
How excited were you for this? Because I know you've been dying thinking on the pod since Rainbills.
Oh, I was pumped, dude. I was catching a lot of slander. There's been a lot of talk, not even just about my trades, just about things in general. I mean, everybody knows I share my opinion even when it's probably not wanted. So happy to have a forum here to address a few items.
Perfect. Let's get into it. All right, so we're going to look at first your initial thoughts because you were not a founding member, but you basically were. So, how'd you feel getting called up to the big leagues to replace Soldani in PvP?
I was nervous. I never did Dynasty before, so I was, one, I didn't get to pick the team, so I knew I was gonna come into something that, probably Soldani's vision for the team was not gonna line up with how I normally draft a team, and that's exactly what happened because his team was, basically a retirement home when I got on here, which I just knew, even not even being a dynasty player ever, I knew that that was a bad idea. But yeah, so I was a little nervous, but the second I joined, I got smoked my first two games. Decided to just go full rebuild, and really love what I've done with it with the team so far.
It does look, I think after Dotson, you've traded just about everybody away, which is pretty impressive. So, what's your biggest regret so far?
Biggest regret? That's tough. I mean, I've made so many moves that like it's tough for me to like even think like for instance trading McCaffrey. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I got really good value for him, so it's tough for me to say that that's a big regret. Um but with just how much he's going off and how much Keenan's going off this year and now Russ is playing better, I'm like, what if I just stuck with the retirement team just one more year? Like maybe I would have an all-star team this year. So it's tough to narrow it down to one, but I'd probably say getting rid of McCaffrey is kind of probably the biggest one.
All right, that makes sense. What's the best move you think you've made?
The best move, the best move I think I made was the Cam Akers trade that I made to acquire him. And then even though I didn't think he would be this bad to start the year, being able to flip him for a first when it looked like he was going to be the guy for the Rams, I feel like that was a really lucky move, but I think that was probably the best move I've made so far.
I like it. Yeah, I think Chaz gave you Cam Akers, Eli Moore, what, a second and a third for David Montgomery was the deal? Something like
Yeah, and
that.
I turned that into, Eli Moore was a big piece of the Rainville first, and then, Akers was another first.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'd say those are even just getting Jerome Ford for a third. Both of them had to do with Rainville, but yeah, I feel like those were some pretty strong moves.
I like it, man. So, in your opinion, Austin, picks or players, what's more valuable?
Picks or players? I think players are more valuable, but they're also more volatile. So like picks, you can kind of have an idea. I mean, we could see that even picks you think might be a high first won't be a high first as the year goes on. So they can fluctuate in terms of high first, mid first, low first. But like the value difference between high first and a low first isn't really until you have it like dead set that it's like the 101 or 102. Like a high first versus a late first is not as big a difference as I think player fluctuation can be. Like take a look at Chubb. I don't even know if you're getting like a second for that guy right now. Whereas before that, he was probably a first plus. So
Yep.
like I think players are more valuable. I mean, they're gonna win you the money, they're gonna win you the game. But I think the volatility of players is way higher than picks.
It's a good way to put it, buddy. All right. On our next slide, this is just, you know, I like this Excel. I like to show it off. What stands out to you? What comes to mind? What are your thoughts on our current lifetime stats?
First thoughts, Joe R, number 14, hasn't won a game yet. I don't know if he will this year. I hope he doesn't. I'm just kidding. I mean, things that stand out is just, I mean, your domination of the league so far. I'm surprised to see Scro so high too. He's literally just one win off you. So that's pretty impressive. But yeah, averaging in a 14-man league, 130 points per game, that's pretty impressive. So that stands out for sure.
I appreciate that. Yeah, Scro was a heavyweight last year. He's limping a little bit this year after some big moves, but he's only a game behind me lifetime. So, yeah. Um, all right. Something I've added this week and we'll do going forward is kind of a look back. Since we've seen some data now, we've seen some games. Uh, Talk to me about the 23 draft. Are you happy with your draft? What do you look at on here and is like, wow, this person's an idiot? What was a really good pick? Just whatever you want to talk about looking at this.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with my draft. I mean, being able to get Tank Dell, I think was pretty big. Looking back, obviously, there's change. I think everybody would say they made changes. I don't think anybody was like, I made the perfect call. Like, I think most people would take A-Chain over, I think he would be the fifth round pick right now, maybe even higher than he'd probably get taken over. You might even talk to Dom. He might like him over Gibbs now, with all we've seen. But I mean, the biggest things, taking a defender in the third round is just mind blowing to me. I just can't believe that we saw like what 3, 4 defenders go in the third round.
We saw three of them go.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, three of them. That's just absolutely insane. Um, that I mean, we all know what happened to Chaz. I was a big party of that on draft day. So,
You were
I
the
think
lone party of that.
yeah, I was yeah. So I mean, obviously, I don't think he drafted very well, but I mean, Roshan is turning out to be pretty solid, all things considered. Um, I probably wouldn't have taken Mingo. And Mingo was just a value. Like I just felt like he was the best value where he was.
Yep.
And looking back, I knew the red flags drafting him, and I was just like, in the second round, like there's red flags on everybody, and there's probably, I wish I would have taken like Stroud or somebody. Now looking back, but yeah, those are my thoughts.
All right. I like it. So now we're gonna review some recent transactions here. Um, so the most recent one, the Chaz and Scro trade that we saw today at 8 a.m. Bizarre trade to see go down at 8 a.m. What do you think about that one, the Dalton Schultz trade?
I just don't know. I don't know what the logic is there. It's like I hear Chaz. I mean, look, Chaz is happy. That's all that matters. When you make a trade, you feel good about it. It's just, his point that Schultz, he has two other tight ends, but I see that, and sometimes I feel like that too. When you have other players, you're like, I could just sling this guy and not even care about it. But like whether you have three tight ends or one tight end, like the player's value is the player's value. So when we're looking at Schultz's value, one, he's in a position to where players can play till they're like 35. So I consider him young at the position. So you traded a kind of proven younger guy and a third that God only knows where Dom's third will be in 25, probably be a late one, but who knows. For a young, unproven tight end, maybe you believe in the upside, but like, I don't think there's a case that his upside is higher than Schultz. I don't even know who Shorter is, so I mean, I'll just give that to Chaz for being a Bills fan. And then getting a third back, which is really just a pick swap. I would say that the thirds are of equal value right now.
The
Like, I
pick
really don't
swap
think
is
you can.
very bizarre to me in that deal.
That is just
I
bizarre.
just
So, like, let's just not even consider the picks into the equation. You traded Schultz for Granson and Shorter. Like, I don't like. Yes, he has the other two tight ends. He's not like the downside isn't that crazy, but like, there's just I think you just lowered your ceiling. Like, I think that's what the trade did. Like, the floor is probably not that much lower, and then you just lowered your ceiling with that trade. Unless Shorter turns out to be a guy, which would be absolutely shocking. So
All right.
yeah.
Up next, we have birthday boy, big married guy. Finally trades away Khalil Herbert. I refuse to believe this is the best offer over the year and a half he's gotten, but he's finally on the move to Chris. What'd you think of this one?
So, I mean, it's really not that bad. I feel like I'm looking at it a little biased just because, I mean, I'm sure we'll get to the Mostert trade. I was trying to buy a ton of people for a second. I don't know if I ever formally made an offer of a second for Herbert to Kyle, but he knew I was kind of in the market, and I don't, just for him to take this long and try and sell him for a first at the beginning of the year just to ultimately sell him for a second plus Mooney, which I know Kyle fan fiction thinks Mooney's going to go to the moon. I just don't see that happening. Like, I feel like if he was gonna, like, we see what DJ Moore is able to do. Like, I feel like if there was gonna be Mooney's time, like, he'd be producing right now. He was the number one guy last year. Now he's the number two, and he's, not nothing else is happening. So I think Mooney is a bust. So I mean, he's really just got slightly over a second for Herbert, and then McLaughlin, which I know that was a waiver pickup, but like he could, he's surging right now. They just paid Perrine, but yet McLaughlin's getting the reps. Like that should tell you something that he's not just like a throw-in free guy. So I just don't know. Like I believe he got, if we're just looking at it individually for Herbert, I think he got less than a second for him. Like, and I feel like he could have got a second earlier, but he was just really trying to push a first. So I don't know.
Yeah, it was interesting to see him and sell one of his staple guys. He could have had that same offer that you got for Montgomery for Herbert last year, but he held on to him. Up next, we have a little bit of a smaller one. I at the bachelor party sent off Matt Stafford, picked up your 26th third.
Yeah, I think you sent that to everybody in the league, if I'm not mistaken, because I think I got an offer for Stafford,
I sent
or
that to every
maybe.
single person in the league, and a couple people responded with some sass, and I was like, "Listen, you're not special. I sent this to all 13 people."
Yeah. Which, like, I mean, I think that's I mean, Dom shores up his quarterback position. He only gave up a third. I mean, you know how I feel about thirds. I think they're borderline worthless. There's been multiple trades where I've agreed to a trade and then they ask me to throw in a third and I never give any pushback.
That's fair, yeah. Which that comes up to a next controversial trade. Apparently, you got Aiden O'Connell for 2/3. Take it away, buddy.
This is just crazy. There was three defensive players. There was three defensive players that went in the third round. I don't know who took the defensive players, but probably one of them who thought negative of that trade, like commented on that, which is just let's say Aiden O'Connell is a lifetime backup, and let's say he never sees the field. Like, I lost 2/3. The downside there is almost non-existent, and then the upside is he had a lot of preseason hype. Rico knows is high on this guy,
His number two in the
and
draft.
you might not know, but Rico knows. But no, in all seriousness, just there's no downside to it. Like, I gave like what are they saying he's worth? A third? Like, nothing. He's just droppable. Like, he was a starting QB in a 14 man. If he went in there and balled out, which I did not think was gonna happen, but if he went in there and balled out, then everybody would be like, holy shit, and you'd probably feel bad about trading him for 2/3 because you could have just waited till the game was over and maybe got a second out of it. Um, but you decided to do it before the game. I think he made mistakes, but he was a rookie quarterback who had no intention of playing a game this year. And I actually think he did pretty well. So I'm happy with that trade. I think you're happy with that trade because you certainly don't need him. I think it was a solid move on both parties.
I agree. And then the blockbuster of bachelor party weekend, we saw Peru finally going out trying to make his roster a little bit better. He picked up Stevenson for Miles Sanders and Godwin. He made one of these guys made sure to get a third in this deal for God knows what reason. You're up, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, we talked with Prue. I think this was a solid. I think this was a solid trade. Gun to my head, I gotta pick who I think wins it. I think Prue wins it because I think Ramondre. I just have never been a believer in Miles Sanders. I don't think he's really anything. Um, the the saving grace for Joe Shiesty over here might be I think Godwin is a huge buy low candidate. I think it's just so crazy to me how people are so low on Evans when Evans is having a pretty monster year and Godwin's been garbage to be quite honest. And like we think Evans is going to come down to earth. Like where are those targets going to if he's not open down the field, where are the Bucks going to throw it? They don't run a lot of three wide receiver sets. They run mostly double tight end, two wide. So those targets are going to go to Godwin, and he's our screen guy. He's our possession guy. So if they start locking up Evans downfield, he's going to get more targets. So I think Godwin's numbers are going to improve, and I think that can help probably make this a pretty even trade and balance it out. I think it is a pretty even trade. So I mean, I like it for both. But I think this move helped Prue
Okay.
more.
The next one, I'm just gonna have you take your pick. Justin Ross or 2/3? Which would you rather have?
I honestly I don't even know. It's just it's like somebody giving you 50 cents. Who would I think I'll just take this to I'd rather the player because Justin Ross goes off, his value goes up. Like those thirds are never gonna really mean anything until maybe draft day, and maybe you get another third out of it. So Justin Ross, I would rather.
All right, that's fair. And then we're gonna hop over to another controversial trade that you're a part of. Just tell me about the whole Mostert thing. How you're feeling, all that good stuff. Go ahead, buddy.
Same thing. I mean, look, I get what people are saying. You Joey got a first in Mostert, so technically that was my first to have. I mean, for one, the way I look at the trade is the fact that I gave up Dotson. Like that's who I gave up. So yes, I could have gotten a first. We already know that. We had the controversy with Chris. So even if I look at it that way, I didn't give up a first for Mostert. I gave up what everybody in the world thinks is the latest first in the furthest possible way away first I could have gotten. And then I got back what is potentially a very high second. So there's a world where Mostert doesn't play another game or he sucks. And like, okay, I lose the trade if that happens. Obviously, I did the trade because I want Mostert to play well and help me, compete this year. If he doesn't play again, there's a world where Chris ends up having a high second in 2026. And I mean, I'll go on the record and say I don't think your team's ever going to be bad. So I think maybe it won't be as dominant in the future, but it's always going to be a late first. And then the logic that you gave Joey a first and he's going to turn it into a better player to judge my trade on that just because some other idiot is going to come along and like give you the world for a first. Like that has nothing to do with my trade. The downside to my trade is I lost Dotson. If Dotson goes off and becomes a wide receiver one, I lose the trade. I still think Dotson's going to be good, but I think his ceiling's at best like a mid wide receiver two. Absolute best. Mostert was performing like an RB1. He's 31 years old. He probably doesn't play next year. I got him for I got him plus a second, like to help shore up my RB position. I just think the upside is he helps me become a top three team. I think best case scenario, my team's a top three team. Worst case scenario, I lost Dotson. Like to me, it was an upside play, and I like it. I'm happy with it. Even if Mostert doesn't do anything the rest of the year, I can live with that.
Hey, as long as you're happy. I was sad to lose Mostert. People will just say I'm saying that, but it was tough to give him up the way he was playing. But I like the creative control of my destiny because it's my own 26. All right, man. We got some year two projections. Tell me which 7 teams make the playoffs.
7 teams that make the playoffs. I think yours is a sure thing. I think Dom makes the playoffs. Grow makes the playoffs. Um, Crew makes the playoffs. Derner, Pipe, me, and then what was that? Was that
That's seven.
six?
That's seven.
That's seven. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm the last one to sneak in there. But yeah, those are my 7 playoff teams.
I just like the record to show this is the fourth straight pod. No one has Teddy in the playoffs as he's floundering at 1-3. But anyways, who is our championship matchup? Who you got squaring off in the finals?
Championship matchup. I'm gonna say I think Prue makes the champion. I think Prue makes the championship matchup. And then even though the only way you don't make the championship is if something goes wrong, I think stuff goes wrong in fantasy all the time. I mean, hence why I'm 3 and I thought I would be 0-4 right now. So hence why I'm 3-1. I'm gonna have a hot take here and say Joey does not make the championship. Something goes wrong. Maybe it's his QBs get injured again. I don't know. I think you're gonna prepare for that, but something along the way goes wrong, and we see like we see a Prue versus Pipe or Prue versus Scro champion. Let's say Prue versus Scro.
Okay, and who wins it all?
Who wins it all? I'm gonna say Prue. Prue's
Wow.
team, I think Prue's team is really good. I think Fields play. I still don't want Fields on my team at all. Like I feel like if you have him, you got to keep him, and nobody's buying him. Um, but I think Fields plays better. I think he figures it out mostly. They don't really have a tough schedule, so I think that's going to be Fields' saving grace. I don't even know if he's the quarterback next year, but I think from a fantasy perspective, he'll play okay. Montgomery's going to have 37 touchdowns this year. Devontae Adams is still going to play well. I mean, I think the only thing that hurts Prue is, he's got old guys, so injuries are bound to happen. And I don't know if Prue has the chops to navigate it. He is the waiver wire king though, so that's why I'm giving it to him. But I say Prue wins it.
In a wasteland of waivers, though. Who gets the 101 this year?
The 101 is going to me.
It's going to you?
There's no shot it's going to anybody else. I don't think Rain Man wins a game. I think I think he's gonna give me odds, and then I think at work like I'm the 7th team in the playoffs, I think. So if anything goes wrong for me, I'm missing playoffs, and I think I'm gonna have the most points. So if Rainville comes in last, and then I miss but have the most points, I think it makes it what a 50-50 shot pretty much for me to get the
Close to that,
101.
yeah.
So I think I get the 101.
Okay. Take your pick. 5 years from now, who will have the most wins and who will have the least amount of wins?
Most wins is in like the single season 5 years from now or
No, no,
cumulative?
like cumulative.
Cumulative, the most wins. I'm gonna say you 100%. I'm very confident in that. Least amount of wins, without it, I might be more confident in this one that it's Chaz with the least amount of wins 5 years from now.
Okay. Uh, Tell me, what will your record be after week 14 of this year? What do you project your record to be?
Week 14. Let's go through it real quick. So I'm 3-1 right now. I need Jesus to come down to give me a win this week. So that's 3-2. Next, I'm beating Kyle. No problem. That's 4-2. Probably lose to Scro. That's 4-3. I'm gonna destroy Joe. 5-3. Gonna beat other Joe. That's 6-3. Gonna smash Ted. 7-3. Gonna beat Chris. I can't believe Chris is 3-1. That's absolutely insane. Gonna be that's 8-3. Pipe will probably beat me 8-4. Gonna beat Matt 9-4.
And
So
then
9-4 going into week 14.
okay, and then week 14 will just be the highest. The top 7 people get a win. So do you
Oh,
feel
okay. So
confident
then
that you'll be 10-4?
let's say I'm 10-4 then, baby.
All
Ten
right.
and four.
Up next is another new slide I've incorporated because of some talking points. I don't know if I call it drama. I like to call it IDP, Kyle versus the world. Just
Oh my God, I'm so I've totally forgot about this. I'm happy you brought this up. Kid, go ahead. Do you
no, no,
have
no. You
something
go
else?
ahead. You go ahead, buddy. Take it away.
this like if Kyle was just advocating to get rid of IDP, I mean, I disagree, but like I can see that, like everybody in another league I'm in, everybody loves having kickers. Like I'm very anti-kicker, but like whatever, they like the randomness of having a kicker. I kind of can't argue that because the whole reason I don't want a kicker is because the randomness. But like this his points about the scoring just they make no sense. Like the you can scout defensive player just because you're not scouting defensive players doesn't like did anybody see that I picked up the Bengals guy? Like did they think I just like Bengals defensive backs? Like no, like I kind of looked into that. I looked into what his stats were. Like I'm not a NFL scout. I'm not saying like I looked at the game film, but like and then he got me like what, 7 or 8 points the next week. Like I'm looking at defensive players. I watch Devin White all the time. I think he's overrated, but he's gonna make plays, so that's why I have him there. And then Myles Garrett is an animal. Like I'm not mad if I lose because somebody's IDP guy goes off. And like if somebody has a 2 sack, 3 tackle for loss, pick six game, like yeah, that's like Devin A Chain putting up 50 points on me. I would be fucking pissed. But like, it is what it is. So I don't think there's a problem with the scoring. They average what, like
17
seven
points a game.
17 points. So if you look at that on a per player basis, that's like just under 6 points a game. So like, I mean, what are we gonna make it average 12 points a game? And then like we got guys just putting up 4 points, and then it's like, why even have it at that point? Like you, any position, you want them to make some sort of difference. Otherwise, you just don't put them in. If you're gonna have guys like go in there and not score any points, like why do we even have them there? Then it's just a waste of time. Like I think having IDP, scouting the players, having a guy like Mika Parsons on your team, that's an advantage, and everybody has access to those advantages. I mean, we had 3 players take it in the third round of the rookie draft, so you know.
Yeah, I think they're very easy to acquire. I will also say what I like about IDP is the individual player, obviously it's in the name, has to do it. And the more I think about it, if someone has a 90-yard pick six for a touchdown, there's not really a difference between that or a wide receiver catching a 90-yard touchdown, and they have less opportunities to do that because like picks are not, if you have a 10-pick season, it's like an incredible season. They just don't happen. And then Khalil Mack had 34 points, wasn't even on a roster, and that's because he's putting up 1 point every other week. Like those weeks don't happen very often, and when they do, it's usually from someone who's not even like starting. So, but that is
Yeah.
that. Now we're gonna hop over to the matchups, and matchup number one is yourself versus JP. What do you think
This
about
one
this
was
one?
tough. This one was tough. I knew. See, and do you hear me crying because JP has a guy that put up 12 and a half points on me, and Myles Garrett only got me 6.25? No, I'm not. But this one was tough. I was happy to see that he didn't start Montgomery, but like I mean that's the saving grade. I would hate it if I lost by like a couple points and then I didn't start somebody. So I'm sure Prue's happy that that didn't come back to bite him. But this one was a tough pill to swallow. None of my guys performed. Mike Evans pulled his hamstring. Tank Dell forgot he had a football game that day. Um, Kenneth Walker, that freaking 70-yard touchdown would have been huge. That was demoralizing, but good for JP.
And now a part of this segment that I like to do, just to rope it in together. What is one move you want to see JP make, and one move you want to see yourself make? This can be your marketing pitch to the entire audience.
One move I want to see JP make. He's gotta get some depth. I think he's gonna hit some injuries. I don't know how he does it. I know he doesn't have a lot of draft capital. But I think he can move off Adams or Allen, get something back, and not really hurt his team. If it's me, it's probably Allen. I don't think Allen keeps up this pace he's been at. And maybe he does, but I think that he's been fragile his whole career, and You know, he bought him for 2 seconds. He's probably at least worth that now, even though he probably overpaid then. But
Yeah.
I think adding some depth would help JP. It would probably hurt him in the short term, but help him in the long term for this season, not long term.
Okay. And then what's a move you want to see yourself make?
A move I want to make. I'd really like to somebody to come get Ford. I'd like somebody to come get Ford for me. I think he didn't have a great week last week. I don't think he's Nick Chubb. But I think there's a lot of contenders out there that can use a running back. He's also young, so if he starts performing this year, maybe he plays into a timeshare with Chubb next year after he comes back with a bionic leg. So, you know,
Yeah, that's
I'd
fair.
like somebody to come get forward, and I'd like to be able to move off him. Now that I have Mostert.
Okay. Up next, we have myself against Billy B. A very close game. I actually lose this game if Thibodeau doesn't drop a surefire pick six. Take it away. Thoughts and a movie you want to see us both make.
Yeah, that's crazy. That would have been huge if you lost too. I mean, for Joe to go 1-4, or sorry, 1-3. That would have been great for the Rainville tanking rankings. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it would have been great. It would have been great to see you take an L this game. I mean, I wouldn't care so much for your L just as much as Joe gets the W. But a move I want to see you make. Um, I mean, I don't really want to see you make any moves, but I mean, moving that first at the trade deadline. I think you hold that till the trade deadline. That's kind of what I'm trying to do with the first I just acquired in the other league, and then you move it at the deadline when there's less injury risk and the games become more valuable towards the end of the year. That's probably what I think you'll do, or maybe you'll do it before that, but you're gonna move that pick. No shot, you're keeping that. Um, then uh, what I would do if I was Joe is I would trade Kyron Williams unless you think he's gonna be the guy. I don't think he's gonna be the guy. Maybe Billy B does, but I moved Kyron Williams like yesterday. To me, he's like a better Jerome Ford. He's just a product of his situation. He's somebody who can help a competitor, which, if I am a competitor this year, then Ford's gonna help me. That's why I'm not like actively shopping him, begging people to take him, but like I'd be willing to move him. I think same mindset for Kyron Williams. I don't really think he's much. I think he's just a product of the situation. He's Cam Akers, product of the situation.
Okay. I had no idea Ayuk had that many yards and only 6 catches. That's pretty impressive. Up next, we have Teddy with the exclamation points because he only talks in emojis against Scro. A big heart, like wrenching loss for Teddy. Take it away, Drench.
This was crazy. I started Danny Jones in a league where you lose points for sacks, and I was
That's
up
tough.
by like 18 or 19, and he ended up losing me, I think, 8 or 9 points. There was a point where I was like, is he gonna get me -18 and I'm gonna lose this game somehow? But so that was funny, but yeah, that was tough. That was tough to watch from the outside. I thought Teddy had this in the bag. I didn't think Seahawks defense was really that great, and I thought Danny Dimes. I'm pretty sure I bet the over on him, so I thought he was gonna have a good game. Um, but a move I'd like to see Teddy make. I think maybe he's still hanging on to hope for this year. So, he could kind of hang on to the players he's got. But I think Higgins is gonna have another few slow games. Pierce is gonna get you 10 points, but the upside's not that he needs upside guys. He's got no upside guys on his team right now. So if he's gonna go for it this year, take a risk. Get an upside guy that might fall on his face, but if he doesn't fall on his face, he's gonna carry you to a championship. If not, like sell someone. and get some draft capital back, and then go into next year when Jonathan Taylor's going to play a full year, probably on a new team, and you have a full team and you're ready to go. That's what I'd do if I'm Ted. Um, Scro, you know, if I'm him, I'm probably trying to move Burrow. I know he just gave up an absolute bag for him, but I don't know if Burrow. I just traded for him in another league, so like long term, super happy. But you know, he's got a competitive team this year. You could probably move Burrow for like a still good quarterback, lower tier guy, and get some draft capital back, and get better performance this year. That's it's probably a move I'm at least considering if I'm Joe. Maybe not because I love Joe Shiesty, um, but that's probably what I'm thinking about if I'm him.
Let me ask you one quick question before we go to the next matchup. How many more weeks until Ted accepts his fate this year as a non-playoff team?
I think if I think if Ted loses next week, if you're 1-4 in fantasy, like I don't see how he doesn't accept that he's a non-playoff team. Maybe Ted's just like, I don't care, I'm not selling anybody, but like I feel like there's only so much time because here's the thing too. Let's say he gets healthy. Let's say he loses next week and then he gets fully healthy. Like it's fantasy, even fully healthy, there's gonna be a couple games, one or two games where your team underperforms and you lose that game even being fully healthy. So if you're 1-4, you're still gonna lose a couple games that you probably should win. Um, and it's just going to be you need everything to go perfect at that point, which when your whole season everything's going to be going wrong. I don't know how you have that kind of confidence.
That's right. And the last comment I'll make is Teddy's 2-2 right now if Scro doesn't go out and get Godwin and he plays Stevenson instead. So a sneaky good pickup, at least for this week, for Scro. All right, up next we have Bachelor Boy Dom against Liberal Matt. I'm just kidding, Matt. Take it away.
I mean, Dom's team finally performed. I'm sure he's not happy about the whole Gibbs aspect, but like, he's a rookie. There's no guarantee that they're gonna treat him like they do Swift. I think they like him better than Swift. I don't really think there's a concern around that. I just think they're being very careful with how they deploy him, and I think eventually he's gonna be like a Kamara. I don't know if he gets to Kamara numbers, but like I see him, getting 12 to 15 touches a game by the end of the year. So hang in there with Gibbs. Dom's got a really good team. I think this is how he expected his team to perform since the beginning of the year. Matt finally started selling guys. I think he's got good bones on the team. Um, I think he didn't want to win this game, so I think this matchup went exactly how both parties wanted it to.
That's right. What's a move you want to see both of these guys make?
Um, Tough to say. Dom's in a really good position. You know, I, I'm probably thinking about Trevor Lawrence right now. Do I really want to stick with him? Because I mean, I think Dom's Dom's got a really solid team, and I think if Trevor Lawrence figures it out, then I think he's top two. I think he could give you a run for your money. He would have beat you this week if he played you. I think he's just got to think about, does he think T-Law figures it out? If he does, hang on to him. If he doesn't, he's still young, so I wouldn't say he's a sell now while you can get value, but maybe he's a sell now, get somebody who's probably going to play better this year and isn't ancient, and maybe make a run at the chip, and you're not losing too much because you're still getting a decent Q. Um, that's probably for Dom. Matt, a move I'd make if I'm Matt, um, get rid of Woods. I don't know what you get for him. But try to sell Robert Woods. I don't think he has any business being on a rebuilding team. Um, I'd hang. Don't sell Brees Hall. There's probably a million people that have come in DMs. So I guess that's the move I would make if I'm Matt, is continue not selling Breece Hall. I think Breece Hall is gonna be special. I don't know if we see it this year, but I think he's gonna be a really good running back.
Okay, I like it. Up next, we have Joe Dryville dropping an absolute stinker against Kyle.
You love to see it. I continue the good work, Joe. Continue to move forward, dropping less than 50. Um, Kyle, I feel like Kyle has no idea what he wants to do. I think he wants to be a rebuilder, but like wants to be competitive at the same time. Um, I'm happy. He's happy with Khalil Herbert. He moved off him, solid. I think he's really high on Swift. He like wants to keep him, but wants to sell him at the same time because he was saying a first for Swift all year, and now he's been touting how good Swift is gonna. That this is what's so funny to me. He's selling him at a first because he's gonna perform really well this year, and then he performs really well, and I don't even think he would take a first for him now. It's like he's always moving with the value. He's always saying I should get the value for my player for the potential upside rather than just like I should get what they're worth. Like to me, when you're selling a player, you got to sell what they're worth. The upside is there, and that's what gets the interest to buy the player. But I'm not gonna pay you what what his value might be in the future. Like it's what his value is now, and like I think he's still an injury prone back. Like I don't think that's changed, and that's always been his negative. So you know either he's gonna have to hang on to him for the full season and he's got to make it through the full year healthy, which I think is super unlikely, or he should sell him at the absolute max value right now. He probably can get a little over a first and join into the like embrace the rebuild, embrace it.
I like it. Yeah. Is there a move you want to see Dryville make?
Oh yeah, Dryville. He should give me Addison and I don't know. I'd have to look at the rest of his team. He should full force try to buy back his first for me. I know he made an attempt to before. We didn't come to an agreement. Honestly, I probably don't sell it to him if I'm being totally honest. So, I'm telling him to make this move, but it's probably not going to happen, but I would try again if I were him. And I'd probably fail, but I would try it again if I were him.
Okay. And then is there a move you want to see Kyle make? Is it selling Swift? Yeah, I guess it's selling Swift. We can.
Yes, yeah, and Kyle, and he should sell Derek Carr. I mean, I don't think you can even get anything for him now, but he should, you know. But Swift, yeah, I'd sell Swift.
Okay. Up next, we have Chaz versus Pipe. We know how this went down on draft day, but this is how it played out week 4.
Pipe
Just as
should
play.
Pipe should give me Waddle because of what I did for him on draft day. It should just be a clear cut, handing me the keys with Waddle. But yeah, I mean Chaz's team I think has been sneaky, performing pretty well. Jordan Love has been like he played pretty bad and still got 16 points. So I mean it was garbage time, but it is what it is. I'm sure Chaz is regretting Kendra pick, but Roshan, I think he feels pretty good about. I mean, I know 2 points isn't good, but I think he's doing better than a lot of people thought. He loves Nico Collins. I love the not for sale. I don't think you sell Nico Collins. He's young. He's 6'4", and I don't know, he runs like a 4.3 or no, not a 4.3. He runs like a 4.4, 4.5 40. I think he's going to be a beast. Wandale has been really good for him. So I think Chaz, he's got some bones. He's gotta not make emotional moves. I think he has a tendency to do that like a tremendously high amount. Um, a move I'd like to see Chaz make, similar to Matt, I'd like to see Chaz like stop making moves for a little while, like ride it out. You've got good young guys. This, 2023 loading should be 2025 loading, to be quite honest. But he did buy back his first for me, so he's got his first back. Like, just chill out. Wait till you get the guy next year. Hopefully it's MHJ. Um, and stop making moves. Pipe, I think I don't know. Like, try to sell Waddle. Waddle's not really performing. You kind of went all in with a little bit of older guys. You got Derrick Henry. Rashad White. I don't even know if he's a starting running back next year. So you know, you don't gotta. Waddle's your youngest receiver. Maybe you trade Diggs, but Diggs is balling out, so I don't think you move him. I don't know. I try to move Waddle right now if I'm Pipe.
All right. And then our seventh and final matchup, an absolute fucking shocker. Our champion Derner falling to tanking Chris. Chris is up to 3-1.
Yeah, Chris. I don't know if he's happy about what's going. I mean, he's got to be happy with what he's seeing from his running back, but I don't know if he's happy about the outcome of the games here because it's completely hurting his draft odds there. But yeah, I mean, if he keeps winning, maybe he just sells the first. That's what I might end up doing week 8. So, um, but yeah, Derner underperforming. He's got the Super Bowl hangover, and I don't think he needs. I still think he's a playoff team, so I don't think he needs to jump ship yet. A move I make if I'm him, I probably sell Kamara or Connor. I mean, they're both getting up there in age. They still got a couple more years, but you know, I don't know if you get the same value next or probably Aaron Jones, but I don't even know if you get anything. But like that's case in point. If he sells Aaron Jones last year, I think he probably could have got what a late first maybe for him.
He
I
got him
don't
at
think
the
you get that
deadline. He got DJ. He gave up DJ Moore in I believe a distant second and got Aaron Jones at the deadline from Scro.
exact and DJ Moore, is I mean I don't know what he was. I'd have to think back to what he was valued then at the time. Um,
Not
but
great. Probably a second, I would say.
yeah, yeah. So it was almost like 2 seconds. So I mean. I don't know. I don't know if you get 2 seconds for those guys next year. And his team's pretty up. No, no, he's got a couple older guys, but yeah, I probably try to move one of them if I'm him, if I'm thinking long term. But it's tough with Derner because I think he's a playoff team. Um, he might lose Zach Moss pretty soon, so maybe he's got to hang on to both of them. I don't know. I'd like to see him move one of those guys at the deadline, or be a buyer. Come buy Ford for me. Come buy Ford for me, Derner. You could probably use running back. He's young. He's got fresh legs. He's on a run first team. Come get Jerome Ford.
I like it. All right, and then this says week 4, but it's obviously week 5. I'm just gonna run down who's playing who, and you take your pick of who's gonna win. All right.
Yeah.
You got me versus you.
You versus me, definitely you. If I would take out a mortgage and then I would take out a second mortgage and put it on. I have 6 guys on buys. Your team's better than me even at full strength, so I think giving me a 34% chance of winning is crazy. I think it's like a 1%.
All right. Up next, we have probably Ted's last stand here. We got Dom versus Teddy.
Dom, without a doubt, I think Dom's team's gonna start performing here. Like Kels didn't even have that great of a game, and he's like a tier below McCaffrey in terms of scoring a touchdown and going off. So he's gonna go off. Um, eventually Gibbs is gonna have a big game. Ted's done, man. Ted's gotta throw it in, and I think this week he does it.
All right. And then we have Joe Rainville against Scro.
Scrow, 100%. Joe Rainville, keep up the good work.
Up next, we have a barn burner, but probably a clunker barn burner. We have Chaz going up against Matt. Does Matt get his first win, or does Chaz move to 2-3?
I would love Matt to get his first win. This is something we got to keep an eye on for no shiesty business. They both got to be starting good lineups. I'm gonna go with Matt gets his first win. I think Chaz's team has been exceeding what it will probably end up performing this year.
Yeah, you're right. We got to keep eyes glued there. Chaz already made one no now. Um,
Yeah.
Up next, we got a couple of rivals squaring off. Actually, our only two married men in here. Kyle against Joe, and the line is real close.
Yeah, I think Joe's gonna take this. I think Kyron Williams is gonna continue to perform pretty well. Like I said, the situation's great for him this year. I don't think he's gonna like fall off this year. And I think there's more likelihood Swift falls off before him. So, um, I'm gonna go with Joe.
Okay, another pretty pivotal matchup here. Derner falling to 2-3 would be. I mean, he was pretty. He had a rough record to start last year, but I think the league itself has gotten a little bit better. So we have Derner going up against Pipe.
That is really tough. I gotta look. Does Pipe got any? I mean, Derner projected to beat him by 9 is kind of surprising. Let me see. Has he got any? Matchups. We got Derner. Oh, it's like for some reason, like there we go. Um. Oh yeah, Pipe does have. He's got Rashad White on a bye. I mean, that's not really much. So I don't know. Maybe it's just projections are hurting him. I'm gonna go with Derner. I think Derner figures it out. You know, he's our defending champion. I gotta give him the respect. So I'm gonna go with him.
Okay, I like it. And then a pair of two people who are 3-1. Can Chris possibly keep this up, or is this the start of the end?
This is the start of the end. Like I said, I think Prue's team's a really good team, just lacking a little depth. I think if he could do something to add that, then he could be a real championship contender. So I'm gonna go with Prue. If Chris wins this though, like Devin A. Chain, I'm so sick that I traded him in another league. So I need Chris to lose this game. So.
All right, man. Before we sign off, do you have any closing thoughts for everybody? Anything you want to say?
I caught a lot of heat for a few moves that have been made. I think people are afraid to take risks, and I think you have to look at upside for moves. You have to look at what the trade-offs are. Like, I think people get so stuck on like, oh, he's 31 years old, like he had really big games. Those were past performances. It's like, well, yeah, but like they can continue. Like he did it 3 times in a row, even if he does it 3 times over the next 7 weeks, like that's huge for me. Like that's great, and especially if he does it on the one week I'm playing Joey, like that's great. So I think the league needs to look a little bit more about the trade-offs, the upside versus the potential negatives, and take some risks. That's how you win. That's how you win in fantasy football. You don't win just like taking the Michael Thomases and just filling your team with Michael Thomases that are going to get 6 receptions for 60 yards and maybe a touchdown here or there. Like, take some risks, everybody.
I like it, man. Hey, good pod. Good pod.